Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first official Sydney City Space Slugs Shatterpoint stream. Have a very exciting match for you tonight, wherever you are. Oh, sorry, I've also got my stream playing as well, so that played very loudly. I have with me in the commentators box Tom Harper.
G'day, Cameron. It's been a long time, but I am incredibly excited to be here, and thank you so much for hosting me.
Oh, anytime. You're the best. You're the best around, mate. Very excitedly, we have today two players in the Oceania Tabletop Simulator Shatterpoint League. One Morgan and one Wotsnik. You can see on the screen there you have a list on Wotsnik's side and the list on Morgan's side. The colours are matching in terms of their names. So if you see a blue hand, that's Wotsnik. If you see a red hand, that's Morgan. The plan is for us, for me as the cameraman, as well as one of the co-commentators, I'll be moving this around, getting a closer look in at what's going on, trying to get a shot of the action here. The players have agreed to use a chess clock, which you can see here. We'll check in on that clock, just see where we're at time-wise as the guys continue on. We are using the Shatterpoint TTS mod here. Both players, Wotsnik's got his squad all loaded up in here, and I think Morgan's just done his now. So again, I'm sure you're already reading and analysing both sides already as our loyal slug viewers. But Tom, do you want to run us through one of the squads, pick your favourite one, and anything else you want to say as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Just again, sorry, it was just there was some trouble loading the squad, so excuse my very poor intro. I'm usually a lot more lively than that. Very excited to be finally streaming some Shatterpoint. We've definitely had a lull from the X-Wing times, but we're back in force. So if you guys see anything that you'd like us to improve on or want us to change or have any feedback, please let us know. I'll start off with Wotsnik's squad or strike team here. So he's got all separatists, and this is a really, really cool, very proactive strike team. We've got two separatist leaders in General Grievous and Asajj Ventress. We have two super tactical droids in Kraken and Kalani, and we have B2 battle droids, and we have Magna Guard. Just an incredible amount of movement that you guys will see throughout the game. At the start of basically every activation, someone gets to move on the separatist team, and they really feel like a proper swarm sort of build, despite having a very few model count. Which I think credit to AMG, they've done a very good job on in this game. Really keen to deep dive into that when we get further into the battle here. What about yourself, Cameron?
Yeah, for sure. I think Twitchy points out are really good, and this was the first thing I thought too, was you've bought the Night Sisters, the Witches of Dathomir squad box, and immediately just thrown the Night Sisters away and have subbed in Mandalorian Super Commandos. And I think what's really interesting about this matchup here is on Wotsnik's side, you have a very what's the word I'm looking for? What's that word? What's the word? Keyword. You have keyword synergy. We have a lot of keyword synergy. Everyone on that squad has some sort of keyword synergy with one or more pieces, right? You've got a bunch of droids, you've got battle droids, you've got separatist on Wotsnik's side, whereas on Morgan's side, I feel like he's gone more for a strategic synergy around melee, getting in close, some primary hunting with Savage, getting lots of dice, lots of extra dice when you're attacking as well. Seems to be a theme across his squad. And they're just a very strong melee squad. So I feel like that's what's really interesting about this matchup, is it's two different ideas or two different strategies of squad building, where one side has really gone, well, I'm going to find all the keywords that match across the different units, and I'm going to put them all together. Whereas it feels like Morgan's gone, okay, I've got a strategy I like. I want to get in, throw lots of dice, and get very violent and very up close. and I'm going to find the pieces that will match that and work really well together around that. So Morgan is running one of my favorite units so far, Darth Vader Jedi Hunter. Is leading one of the squads with Django Fett Bounty Hunter, who is very much a real slot-in piece in any squad, realistically. He has some keywords, but doesn't really play around any keyword synergies himself. He's a very independent unit. Then we also have the Magna Guards, which is mirrored on both sides. Both, I think that shows the versatility and the power of those 3-point cost support the Magna Guards are. That, you know, Morgan's not really... He doesn't have any synergy, I don't think, with the Magna Guards on either of the primaries, because I don't believe Mother Talzin is... Talzin is... No, she's not. Yeah. So, yeah, there's no... But that's just how good the Magna Guard is as a 3-point cost support unit, that you'll just throw it in, and it's still going to find some value. Then we've got Mother Talzin, who I have really not seen too much of. So I'm going to try and bring her up on the screen there for everyone, if you can see. Mother Talzin, she's got a really interesting set of abilities that, again, some of it's two of her abilities, her Dathomirian abilities, can only work on Savage in this strike team. But it doesn't really matter, because Morgan is not necessarily looking for those keyword synergies. He's really looking to get in, get aggressive, and really just overwhelm early with getting right up in the face of Wotsnik's team. So yeah, and then as Twitchy pointed out earlier, Mandalorian Super Commandos, just really good melee piece. They are inwardly synergistic. They can proc the Mandalorians are stronger together just by the two characters in the unit, so they don't necessarily need to be paired with Mandalorians, and we'll see how well they end up running here on their own without, you know, the support of Gar Saxon, or, you know, some people running the 4 Mandalorian units that we have right now. You know, there's no of the Kryze Commandos, Clan Kryze Commandos. Yeah, so I think it's really interesting squad from Morgan. And Wotsnik's squad is one I think is very strong. I've been playing it myself. It's got so much choice per turn, per activation. Yeah, so in terms of the guys that are getting started now, Tom, but I wanted to ask you, before we really dive into the action as it's happening, who are you favouring here? Who do you think has, from turn 0, who's looking better?
Well, look, it is. I just wanted to say, just before we get into the deep dive, how fitting it is that our first ever Shatterpoint stream also features Darth Vader, and he's also the first pull of the game, which is fantastic. So love that, absolutely love it. So what we've seen is an early reserve on Darth Vader, which is just fantastic. It's a great card to have in your reserve slot, and a timely activation whenever you want it. In terms of what the rosters want to do, I find this very interesting, and I think it's really showed in what you were talking about earlier, Cameron. Both of them want to get in the middle, both of them want to do a lot of damage, and both of them want to flood, and they just do it very differently. Morgan's going to utilize Darth Vader's attacking utility in all of his characters and units. And he's also going to utilize Mother Talzin's revenge ability, because that's going to come in handy a lot, I think, with what Wotsnik's brought to the table. And I can't really tell you what deployment I would favor either, because both of these factions, I believe, firmly love the crosshair deployment that we're seeing here, because, you know, it's very centrally placed. So I think it is anyone's game. It really is just going to come down to deployment and to reactive abilities, I think, which is going to be really, really fun to watch. And now you've seen, I think, wisely so, first player was won by Morgan, and he's pulled his supports relatively fragile as far as all things go, and he's decided not to go into the middle and to wait it out, because first players don't score in Shatterpoint. So we've seen a little bit of reservation there, which I think is valid, and we'll see how Wotsnik has responded. And he's drawn the B2 battle droids. So, what would you do here, Cameron? Would you go into the center? Would you hold them back? What would you do? Would you just take some pot shots? How are you thinking you'd approach this?
I think if I'm Wotsnik, I'm looking at what Morgan's brought, and Morgan has brought a lot of teeth. but he hasn't brought a lot of guns, if that makes sense. He's going to bite you very hard, but if you can keep range, if you can keep distance, you can really get some good shots in with some decent guns at range before he can close that distance. And that's going to be where I think Morgan needs to... that's where he's going to find his advantage. If he can close that distance very quickly, get in there and start putting some real damage in. Because with that Vader ability, I noticed this synergy earlier today when I was reviewing the squad. If you get any of these guys in there, if you get Savage or Talzin in there, in the melee, they can take that damage. They can take the damage using Vader's ability. And for those who don't know what that ability I'm referring to, that's your hatred makes you powerful. When you're making a melee attack as part of a combat action, you can suffer 2 damage and add 3 dice to your attack roll. Really powerful ability to really get to the end of your combat tree. And that pairs very well with Life Drain, which is after an allied Dathomirian character makes an attack. If the defender suffered 1 or more damage, they use the ability to take a heal action. Which is really powerful. So that basically means they can get that your hatred makes you powerful for just 1 health, which is really, really strong. And that's going to at least aid in the survivability of Morgan's squad in using that burst damage that they can get. They can really pump out and get to the end of their trees. And Mother Taliesin really wants to get to the end of not this tree, but her other tree, her other combat tree. Because that will allow her to do a free manipulating hand, which is such a powerful ability. You can see that it is by the fact it costs a base of 2 force, but she can do that for free. I think it's 4, maybe 5 successes on the tree. So I think I like Wotsnik's early strategy here. Get the B2s out and just get some range on and start taking some shots. But I'm always very hesitant to take the middle. Especially when you're going up against a Vader, because he can really get some big damage in a single turn. He's not Anakin, he can't double attack, but he can really get some attacks in.
Yeah, so we're just having a little bit of error with the map here. It seems like they're unable to toggle the deployment lines when they move Darth Vader, but it seems like they resolved the issue. So what we've just seen, and I think this might be the first maybe error that we've seen of the game so far. So, given the context of Morgan's roster, and Cameron, you were just saying that he has a lot of teeth, basically, he's going to be able to hit these B2 battle droids incredibly hard in combat. And that's probably the one place that the B2 battle droids do not want to be seen, right? They have an ability, if you want to bring it up on the screen, called Saturation Fire. It is a force cost, and it does mean that they can boost their dice when shooting into a character that is contesting an objective. And so we've seen them go centrally, which puts them in the line of fire for combat attacks. And immediately we've seen Vader rip out of reserve and take the opportunity to try and wear them down immediately. So we're going to see if we can actually get the one shot on to the B2 battle droids here. There is a little bit of a ladder right where Morgan has climbed up with Darth Vader. So what he would have done is used Vader's Fury and then moved and then swung into the battle droids. And so we can see, we're probably going to get a pretty far way down this this track here into these battle droids. So we'll see how much damage we end up doing. Yeah. What do you think about that? Do you think the Vader move was good?
I think the Vader move is good. I think it shows what Morgan is going to say in this game, which is basically, if I can get in there and throw some dice at you, I am going to. You sort of hang Vader out to dry a little bit here, especially, the super tactical droids have good guns on them. They've both got range 5, throwing 7 dice. Vader's not a very defensive character, so he could slip in. Wotsnik could slip in quite a bit of damage into Vader very early from range. And I suspect maybe that's what Wotsnik was thinking here. Send the B2s in, let them take a few hits, take a few licks from Vader. He does get the one-shot, actually. A very good point. He gets the damage through, 10 damage onto the B2s, and we actually have our first wound of the game. So that... so they're just fixing up damage here on Vader. I think it's from... He did use Your Hatred Makes You Powerful to take 2 damage to add some extra dice into the pool. You'll see that's what we've got. A total of 10 results on Morgan's side here, to a fairly minimal roll. I mean, that's the thing with these B2s, right? They don't actually like melee. They're rolling 1 less attack dice, 1 less defense dice. Their bash doesn't have as good a expertise tree. It feels like it must have been bait. That feels like the only good sort of strategy there, because although you did take this early, you've immediately lost it. And now Vader's there, and you've got to get up in Vader's face to take the middle back, which is a powerful position for Morgan, I think. So we did see a draw of the Magna Guards, put into reserve,
definitely.
Straight into Asajj, which now Wotsnik will have to activate. And Asajj, for those who can't quite make it out, she's hiding just down here at the lowest elevation. So
so we ended up reserving the Magna Guard and pulling Asajj, and that's the one thing that I think a lot of people try and do with a roster like this. The one unit that they want to have in reserve is Asajj, and in unfortunate situations like this, where you've put Magna Guard to try and get a better activation, and then you pull Asajj next, it can be detrimental. That said, putting Asajj into Vader and getting him off that point for a swing might not be the worst thing in the world either. So we've also just seen Asajj is, of course, going on the bottom of this platform. It's just a little hard to maneuver underneath the large landing platform here. So we can just see that they're going from the bottom and pretending that they're up there, basically, just for everyone's viewing pleasure.
And so here we go.
And we're going to see Asajj go straight. Ooh.
Yeah, no, you were covering it as well.
Yeah, we're just going to see Asajj go straight into Vader here. And one thing that is worth noting is that Jar-Kai, how much damage are we expecting to do into Vader? A lot of people love being on Jar-Kai, and a lot of people love being on Form 2 Makashi. I know that Morgan is an avid Form 2 Makashi user when he uses Asajj, but we're seeing Jar-Kai go in here to try and maximize the damage. And we've got quite a few successes. So that's quite a good roll.
Yeah, and for expertise will net 2 crits and a damage, and Vader's defensive tech is minimal. He is on the Form 5 or Form V Gemso. Yep.
Gemso. Form 4 Gemso, yep.
It's a V, so it'd be a 5. Form 5 Gemso, which is, that's his better of the 2. But still not very great. He doesn't have any. A lot of primaries will have really fun defensive tech. Mother Taliesin can turn a crit to a back to a regular hit, or a hit to a fail. I think Asajj has some really good stuff as well. Similarly, Grievous is also a boring sort of character there. So this could do a lot of damage into Vader. So we'll see what that ended up bringing us. It was a couple more damage into Vader, a disarm and a strain, which the strain is definitely a pain for any character, but the disarm, that's what Asajj does, right? She gets a lot of tokens on, or she does a lot of damage, and I think it looks like Wotsnik went for the token side.
Definitely. Yeah, and we haven't actually displaced Darth Vader, and we haven't actually used the Force there to force push Vader off the point. So, excuse me, Wotsnik only scoring 1, which could already be the swing that we need for Morgan to take hold of the struggle, depending on, of course, what happens next. Yeah, so Morgan's decided to put Django into reserve, and he's gone with Shatterpoint.
Shatterpoint. What do you Shatterpoint here, Tom? Vader. Yeah.
Vader. Just try and get the wound on Asajj.
So what do you do? Do you just take the damage here?
And the reason I say that... Yeah, absolutely. I think the reason that I say that is because Asajj is incredibly expensive to use when she has a wound token. All of her jumps become 2 force, and her force push becomes 3 force, and that's just incredibly expensive. So we do see Morgan taking 2 damage here to boost up his attack roll to 10, and we're going to see him try and chop Asajj
and
down,
a flip to
who is
range
relatively
well.
fragile for a primary character.
Okay, so that'll be
a flip to dark rage, which means
10 dice into 6. Oh, a very powerful roll from Vader there. Asajj only getting 2 defense and 1 expertise, which will give her 3 defense, 3 blocks, and will change a crit to a hit for Vader. So that's a total of 3 blocks. But Vader has, Vader's got a lot in the chamber here. This is going to be a big hit. It may get to the end. So 3 blocks, takes out those 3. We add 2 more. Yeah, that's 6 results. I think 6 results for Vader there. And that's pretty much the full tree.
Yeah, which will be roughly 10 damage to Asajj. She gets the wound token, which is incredibly good for Morgan, which means that Asajj is going to be really, really difficult to utilize for the rest of the game. I'm not saying that she's going to be impossible to utilize, but it really is a limiting factor.
That's big. She's had 1 activation
really
without a wound.
Sort of good order deck control.
Just a big shout out to Lord Tirith.
Exactly, and she didn't even use her force push then either.
And Harif as well. Twitchy says Entourage trigger. Yeah, that does look like it was a missed trigger from... because the Magna Guards have not moved. So that was actually a missed trigger on the Asajj from the Magna Guards. I'm assuming that's what she meant. There are protection protocols.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, so that is a missed trigger. I'm not going to cast doubt on Wotsnik's skill because I forget that nearly every time I'm running the Magna Guards. It's very easy to forget. And on Morgan's side, there is no, he just never has to worry about it because protection protocols is only on a separatist alliance primary unit, which Morgan is not running. So that's a big moment for Morgan there. That wound on Asajj, as he said, Tom, is massive. That is huge. With that in place, she has been heavily restricted. Force push now costs 3. Dathomirian dexterity costs 3 as well. That's massive. That is massive.
Dathomirian dexterity will cost 2, but it will be incredibly expensive to use. Yeah, absolutely.
2, but it's 2 per use, which you can do twice.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So you can end up spending 4 on a double jump Asajj, which is quite a lot. And we see a Shatterpoint draw immediately from Wotsnik as well. So I'm not sure who we're going to use. It looks like we're going for a Kalani, which is a really good way of getting all the droids up into the center here. So it looks like we're going to trigger Kalani. They're going to be triggering their Roger Roger. So each battle droid supporting character within 4 of Kalani can do a dash, which is incredibly strong. And if Wotsnik had have drawn, obviously he has no control over this, but if Wotsnik had have drawn Kalani a little bit earlier, you know, the pressure of the separatists in the middle of the board would have been severe. So yeah, we're still going to be able to see it though, and get those Magna Guard in, and we'll see if we can do anything about these side objectives. So yeah, it has been interesting. A lot of the time, I think players end up gravitating towards the center of the board. There's just something cinematic about it and something beautiful about it. But it is worth keeping in mind that the dead center objective is never active in struggle number 2. Never, ever, ever. So what do you think about that? Should we start gravitating towards the sides here, Cameron?
Yeah, I think someone needs to start putting pressure and contesting either of the sides here because it's looking free for whoever wants to jump in there and take it. And I do wonder, I mean, I can't fault Morgan's strategy so far. Wotsnik presented Asajj. He presented Vader first. Actually, no, I'm forgetting my steps here. So Wotsnik presented the B2s into the middle. Morgan sent in Vader to take care of them. Did a very good job. Wounded them. Then Wotsnik sent in Asajj to try and slow him down somewhat. And that Shatterpoint was a big pull there for Morgan. I find if Vader is in the fray, you always want to do him with the Shatterpoint, and because he can really, as we saw, he activated twice and has wounded both times he's activated.
He does, yeah. So he does a lot of damage. That Rogue One scene at the... Sorry, just real quick. The Rogue One hallway scene is just... I just feel like every time Vader activates, that's exactly what happens.
Yeah, pretty much. Hi, Harif. How many activations thus far? We have 3... This is the 3rd activation. Third activation so far. So a couple, Geach has asked, is this game similar to the space one? I assume you're referring to X-Wing. Sort of, in a sense it's by the same studio that is shepherding X-Wing currently. But no, in the sense that they are very different games. They both use miniatures, they're both Star Wars, but very different games. I think I will put in... I am planning to put in a couple of command prompts in. We can get a link to the Shatterpoint website, to the Shatterpoint core rules, that sort of stuff. But yeah, Shatterpoint by Atomic Mass Games, if you want to look it up and check out some of the rules, feel free. So we've got an attack here. Sorry, Tom. I hope you were watching. Do we know what this attack is here?
Yeah, so my wager would be on it's Kalani shooting into Vader, and a fantastic Vader block there. We've got 4 blocks coming in, and we've got... I always find that Kalani does an insane amount of successes. I think she's absolutely fantastic. So we've got 3 crits there and 3 hits from Kalani. So all 3 crits will go through, which is enough to trigger the tactical network for free, which would be interesting to see how Wotsnik utilizes this.
Which is
so we do manage to push Vader.
So you're getting full value out of Kalani if you're hitting that off the combat tree.
Yeah, definitely. And we're 1 health away from wounding Vader here, so we haven't quite managed to get it, it seems. But I think we might have Vader off the objective. We definitely have him off the appropriate elevation. So we'll see if Wotsnik decides to try and get a Magna on the center point, which could be incredibly useful and start swinging the battle. But also, I keep wanting to remind this, it does... The center point never pops up in the second struggle. So I wonder if Wotsnik will pivot towards the left objective here with his free move from Tactical Network. Would you do that, or would you go straight in? What do you reckon?
Well, I think it depends if you're asking me. Do I think the right call is to pivot to one of the side objectives? Yes. What would I do? I would continue the assault on Vader and try and take him out, just out of pure spite, because he's wounded 2 of my units. I'd want to make him pay.
Yeah.
But I think the strategy here is...
We've actually seen Tactical Network... Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, we've actually seen, and I think that's exactly what happened. We've seen Tactical Network jump into the B2 battle droids for a ranged attack into Vader, and they did indeed get the wound there. So that's a pretty good play. We won't be able to take the middle objective off of Morgan. It will remain under his control because the B2s are wounded. But we do have a wound on the Dark Lord, so that definitely helps, I guess, the attrition piece here, Yeah,
definitely. But I do wonder, would Tactical Network maybe have been better spent going over and taking that right-hand side objective with the Magna Guards? Because I just think at this point, as you said,
I guess
with the middle knot coming up in the second struggle, is it really worth, it's 2 characters, 3 activations to take Vader to a wound while he's been wounding 2 of your units? It feels at the moment, like you said, attrition-wise, Morgan is in the lead here from just a pure attrition standpoint. The rest of his entire strike team is untouched, other than Vader. And force-wise...
I'm just going to check if there's another unit within 2... Okay, cool, no. Yeah. Sorry, you continue, Cameron.
I'm not quite sure where the force is at. Morgan's side looks... He's definitely used at least 2 force. I'm not sure exactly where... I'm not sure exactly where we're at force-wise for Morgan's side, but it looks like we're down to 2 force on Wotsnik's side. He's still got 4 activations left. And same on this side.
Yeah, we got 3 force on Morgan's side. 3 force on Morgan's side.
3 force left?
Okay, yeah, so 3 force left, yeah, 3 force remaining.
I think maybe it hasn't loaded properly on my screen.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think because this is a brand new map, so it might not have updated perfectly for the mod. It just got input today. So we'll see how this goes. Now, this is a really, really important draw here, and I think this is worth talking about a little bit. For anyone that is not familiar with the way that the Dathomirians work, we said that there's very little keyword synergy between or within Morgan's squadron or strike team. But this is an example of it. So we've got an activation from Mother Talzin. With Obscuring Shadows, she is able to move another Dathomirian unit on the board. And then, after that's happened, Savage Opress, if he is within 3 of another Dathomirian or Separatist Alliance character, within 3, he can dash at the start of their activation. So drawing Mother Talzin actually potentially gives Savage Opress 2 dashes, which is an incredible amount of movement. And I find that that's also very, I guess, cinematic, because Savage in the Clone Wars is incredibly fast and he's just a big brute, right? So we're seeing Morgan sort of take control of this this struggle. He's put Savage Opress out of his own activation on the objective in the center, just to take a few more points. And he's probably fishing for a wound here, because if he gets 1 wound, then he gets an additional momentum and will win the struggle. So interesting to see what happens.
He got 5 damage into the Magna Guard there on that attack. So Twitchy points out, I'm sorry Twitchy, I've got the chat very far away from where I'm looking, so excuse me if I'm a bit late to this one. You mentioned the tactical network for the kill. Asajj can get an advance. Asajj gets the advance. Slip away when another allied Dathomirian or Separatist Alliance character targets an enemy character that is engaged with one or more characters in this unit. Cool. I'm not quite sure what you're referencing there. That may have been pertinent on an earlier activation. So,
I see. Yeah, I think what's happened is when Vader got pushed by the tactical network from Kalani, we can basically then shoot into Vader, which can trigger slip away from Asajj.
Right.
So that was an opportunity for Asajj to run around the board and get some hunkers and all that kind of stuff. She was wounded at that time, correct. So she wouldn't have been contesting points, but still good positioning. Yeah.
Yeah, that is a good point. But as Hori says, it's reactive, so it would have cost 1 force as well, which we are only down to 1 force on Wotsnik's side as well at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So now,
with quite a few activations to go.
So Wotsnik leaves, we've still got 3. This is after this activation. Wotsnik still has 3, and same with Morgan. So we've still got 3 activations left before the shuffle of the order deck. I notice Wotsnik is not activating those Magna Guards. Do you think that is a strategy that is effective with the Magna Guards? Leave them till late, send them in. As those who don't know, the Magna Guards only have a melee attack. They do not have a ranged attack. So is it worth leaving them till later in the activation, sending them in to start clearing up those who have pulled too far forward? Or do you think it's better to get them in early so they can be protecting their primaries when they come in the secondaries?
So I think that there might be 2 trains of thought here. Protection of the secondaries and the primaries. And I just want to point out for all those watching, Grievous is on the bottom of this platform here. He's not on the top. It's just for ease of use. And then he's jumping up to the ladder on the side of this platform and then taking the center point here. So just wanted to clarify that. But what I also think might be happening from Wotsnik's perspective is he's got the Magna Guard, which are a healthy unit, as in they're not wounded, they're still good to go. And if we're nearly about to enter struggle number 2, then there's every opportunity here that we could just have a healthy multi-character unit go and take 2 different objectives very early on and swing that struggle towards yourself. So I think that might be coming into play as well. So yeah, just a few things to note as well about what's happening on the game state. We've had onwards trigger into Kraken. We haven't had protection protocols trigger from the Magna Guard though, which is a very important, I would say, missed opportunity because it would have been able to clear the pin on the Magna Guards in response to Grievous's movement. However, it is what it is, and now we've seen Grievous chuck an attack into Mother Talzin. So he's looking to do some big damage in his quad arm attack, potential of 12 damage, I believe, total, which is just absolutely savage. So we'll see how this goes.
Massively savage. So, yeah, as the chat has pointed out already, and you did as well, Tom, a missed opportunity on those Magna Guards. Once again, not getting that move. That is really going to be devastating once he goes to activate them. They're still stuck with that pin. So the guys are calculating out what happens here with that attack from Grievous into Talzin. We got 10 damage into Talzin, which is a wound.
Oh, perfect. Okay, yep. So it's good, and we can see Appetite for Destruction trigger to attack Talzin again with either the Magnas or the B2s. Now, a good thing to keep in mind is that Appetite for Destruction, I think the attack part of it is secondary to the importance of the actual the movement, right? Yes. The movement is what's going to score you points. So we are going to trigger, we're going to trigger Appetite for Destruction on the B2 battle droids, just maybe for some extra condition smattering.
No, I think it's Kalani.
And we'll see how we go there.
Is it B2? Oh, because it has to be support, doesn't it? Yeah, sorry. Ignore me.
Yeah, it does. And the reason that they would have been measuring Kalani is for the range 4 Correct. Bubble, for the extra attack dice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so another beautiful thing about the droids is they just keep adding attack dice and keep putting the pressure on, which is very interesting.
Very much so. That was a really good activation, I think, from Wotsnik there. Grievous is always going to be a big activation, and he was able to recover some force there as well. From another fine addition to my collection, because Mother Talzin is a force user. So that was a really, really big turn for Wotsnik now. He's got 3 activations left. I believe one of them is Saj, because no, she was not the Shatterpoint. She was activated. So I'm not quite sure who's still left in the deck. I think it is the super tactical droids are the ones still left in the deck. Kalani and Kraken both still left in the deck.
Correct. Kalani, Kraken, and Magna Guard. Now, sorry, you go.
No, go ahead. But yeah, sorry, Harith, you did say, they should have...
Oh, it was just, yeah.
The pin should have been cleared, but as it is a May, we are leaving the game state as is. Missed opportunities are missed opportunities. If there's a glaring game state issue, then Tom will jump in and let the guys know. But otherwise, a missed opportunity on a May is just a missed opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, while it was a good activation and now Grievous is a central presence, it will be, I think, struggle to Morgan here. Who have we pulled? We've pulled Savage, actually, so probably not, unless Savage can go crazy and do 10 damage to Kraken. Which is possible, considering Kraken does not have Conqueror's Resolve active at the moment. But
plus,
a very
we can
good
get Dark Fury.
From
if we can get 5,
Kraken.
If we can get 5 successes, we can get a Dark Fury in, and that can also finish off. Kraken as well.
That is very true. Yeah. So we're only going to get 3 successes here, unfortunately, based on the expertise results. So it won't be enough, which means that the struggle will remain in play. So, we could see a big swing turn from Wotsnik here if he's able to make the most of these super tactical droids coming in. So we'll see how this goes. We do have a strain and an expose on Kraken, though. So they're 2 conditions that the super tactical droid does not like, considering how many abilities it has to trigger to essentially force the 3 damage from the strain.
Yeah, and a really good interaction here that I just want to point out. I did mention it at the top of the stream, but we had Savage take 2 damage using Your Hatred Makes You Powerful from Darth Vader, and then immediately, you'll see he's got 1 damage there on his card. He actually had 2, but then using the life drain of Mother Talzin was able to heal off that 2nd damage. So he was able to roll 3 extra dice for a single damage, which is, I think, maybe the sort of nugget of inspiration that Morgan walked away with that sort of birthed this, because I think that interaction is very powerful. A really great combination with that I found as well is the secondary Obi. He has a lot of healing on his combat tree, so another great interaction of that. It's really fun, people finding these interesting interactions that you might not thematically. Vader with Talzin is strange, But strategically, it's an interesting pairing.
Definitely. So, Cameron, how are you going to score 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points? How are you going to try and even this game out here? We need to really flood these objectives and get them on the points, don't we?
Yeah, so I think we can see Wotsnik is doing it now. I do think it's a little too late. The Magna Guard is now coming in to take this point. But at this moment, are you just delaying the inevitable? Morgan is probably going to win this struggle. Definitely you want to plan for the next struggle, and part of that is spreading out your forces and trying to cover as much ground as possible. But I think you want to concede a little bit here. Give Morgan the spots that are currently active, because you're going to get to choose. You're going to get to choose the orientation of the next struggle. So I think it's better to position your forces in a way that best benefits you, and that is, as you said, getting out of the center there, moving characters away from the middle, getting them ready to try and take those corners, take the sides, and just prep yourself to very quickly swing struggle 2 in your favor and get ready for struggle 3. I don't think you really can get 6 to win it.
No, I do agree. So it looks like we are going to also try and move Kraken. No, we can't move Kraken, or maybe tactical networking Kraken with Kalani, just to try and get them on the objective as well. But yeah, look, I do think it's worth considering, or at least acknowledging the fact that Morgan is likely to win the struggle. But getting onto objectives is the name of the game, preemptively, right? So we've seen Morgan take the center. That is, we've seen Wotsnik take the center with Magna Guard. That is definitely something that needs to be considered. And we're now seeing Tactical Network, it seems, onto Kraken to try and potentially steal that off Savage for either this struggle or the next struggle, as those might become active. So interesting plays here for sure. Definitely starting to think about those incoming struggles, which is definitely something you need to, I guess, practice, right? I think it's one of the most important skills or aspects of the game is to know the potential struggle layouts and plan for them in previous struggles.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just trying to see if there's a way I can bring up what options we have. Do you have them on hand, Tom, of what our next options could possibly be?
I don't know. So yeah, we've got like there's 2 that I know off the top of my head. It's middle, one of the middles, and then the opposite. It's too hard to explain.
I appreciate you trying.
We'll just see.
I appreciate you trying. Yeah, there's a lot of information on those cards, and I appreciate. I do appreciate. Shift Alt. That gives us. Oh, that shows us what the struggle will be. Is that where they're drawing from? Yeah, well, we don't want to know what this. That was a good shout, Heath, but we don't actually want to know what it is. We want to know the potentials, because that is hidden information, and the stream is live, so we don't necessarily want the guys to know exactly. Just in case they've got the stream open on the side there. Yeah. Thanks, Heath. We might not do that one again, but that's I didn't actually know that before. But anyway, I just wanted to bring up the potentials so that we could discuss the strategy here, because they don't know, and it'd be really good for us to try and work that through. But I appreciate everyone jumping in, and the overlay is still a work in progress. I think there's a lot of potential here over time for us to figure out the best way to get information on screen so that we can keep track. But for now, we're just sort of, hodgepodging it. We're just very trying to get as much information on the screen as possible, keeping it clean, and then give you the game that's in front there. Just press the flip table button instead. Okay. Yeah, sure.
So we've had a massive hit from Kalani come in there. So we've unfortunately haven't quite been able to get the wound on Savage, but we did give them a max tree We've given Savage, it looks like 8 damage, so they're on 1 left because they had 1 damage already. So that's where that that life drain came in handy. If life drain wasn't triggered on Savage, then he just would have been wounded by Kalani's big attack there.
Absolutely.
We've also given Savage an expose here, which means we actually might get that tactical network trigger to get him wounded here to take the objective off of Morgan, which is a really interesting play there by Wotsnik. So we'll see what the dice say. So basically for tactical network, I don't know if you want to bring it up, Cameron, but allied battle droid character, you can get them to dash, and then they can either hunker, remove 1 condition from the self, or make a 5 dice attack. So we've had Wotsnik come in with Kraken and do an attack into an exposed Savage, which will indeed be enough to get the wound and take the objective, I think.
So I do want to point out, Kraken
really cool play there.
Kraken was strained and took 3 damage to do that.
Mm-hmm. Probably worth it.
So that's really powerful. So it was Kalani, tactical networking Kraken, who got another tactical network and then handed another attack off to the B2s. Is that right?
Correct.
Wow.
No, not B2s. B2s are just measuring to see if they get the additional dice in for target concentrate or firepower.
Okay. Yep.
But all of this is about to be undone by Mother Talzin coming in with her revenge shot into a very, very damaged Kraken who is also exposed.
Yes, so there's Wrath of the Great Mother.
Yeah.
So it's important, Wrath of the Great Mother, it has to be a 5 dice ranged attack. So if you keep one way to stop that is just keep someone engaged with Mother Talzin, and she won't be able to use Wrath of the Great Mother. It's a really good way to shut down that very powerful ability. Her combat tree has a lot of damage in it very early, and 2 pushes on the first 2 successes on the Great Mother side. So the outcome,
definitely, and
from that attack onto Kraken, was it onto Kraken? Yes, it would have had to have been.
It was onto Kraken.
It looks like it wasn't.
It's actually going to win the struggle for Morgan.
Yeah, that does win the struggle for Morgan.
Yeah. Look, I think you've pointed out something very, very important there, Cameron, in that keeping someone engaged with her is incredibly important. And that's definitely what we've seen attempted with Grievous. But because of that cheeky dash that she gets before making a ranged attack, she was able to change elevation there and still get the attack into Kraken, get the wound and win the struggle. So I think it was a valiant attempt from Wotsnik, but it was definitely, unfortunately, foiled by the Great Mother and her conniving little plans,
So just excuse me for a second, Tom. I'm just going to be doing something in the background for the stream, so please just take charge.
Yep, not a problem at all. So we've actually seen the struggle flip, and this is the consequence of some of these movements that we've seen from Wotsnik, maybe putting a little bit too much emphasis on the middle and the center, and neglecting his back left and back right objectives, because as the struggle flips over here, we're not really going to be able to take advantage of attacking. We're probably going to have to prioritize movement and getting on objectives, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It was quite, I guess, perceptive, or at least either perceptive or lucky, I'm not entirely sure, to have those Magna Guard in reserve, because now we're going to be able to pull them straight away and get on the objectives at the back here, which is going to at least keep Wotsnik in the fight for this struggle. But we are going to see the Super Mandalorian Commandos, Mandalorian Super Commandos take Morgan's back objective here as well. But I do forget it is indeed Morgan's activation, because that was a cheeky struggle win in Wotsnik's turn. So thrown me out of the loop there, but we are going to see the Magna Guard try and take a central position here, it seems, to prepare for a potential struggle 3. So what do you guys reckon about that little revenge shot from the Great Mother? Think it was pretty cheeky? Or how would you have tried to avoid that had you been Wotsnik? Any insight from the chat would be awesome. And in general, guys, this is our first Shatterpoint stream, so there's definitely things that we'd like to change or amend or at least improve upon. So if you do have any feedback, please let us know. We're very, very open to it, and we just want to make sure that we're doing everything as best we can, and make as many improvements as possible. Okay, so fairly simple activation there from the Magna Guard. You can see that we've still maintained our presence on Morgan's back right objective, and he's basically come into range of Asajj and protecting Vader here as well. Luckily, we're seeing the priority stay on Wotsnik's backline, and I think the best thing for Wotsnik to do here would be to pull the Magna Guard, and there we do see it. He is going to pull the Magna Guard and just get himself onto 2 points, which is very good. Keep in mind, guys, that what you're seeing here is Wotsnik go from the very bottom of the ground to the very top elevation on the map. And that is because when you do a climb, you can end up at any different elevation. You don't have to end up on just one higher. You can sort of go up and down as you please. So we're seeing some cool action economy here. We're going to see some move or a climb, and then we're also going to see a take cover for the Magna Guard, which is going to give them a hunker and make them a little bit more tanky on the shooting attacks that Morgan might throw into him. And a couple of points on the table, and we'll see if Wotsnik can hold into the hold out into struggle 3. In terms of attrition, what have we got? We've got. I think Kraken should be wounded there. So we've actually got 3 wounds to Morgan's 2. So slight advantage to Morgan in terms of the attrition battle. But we'll see how we end up. What have we pulled on Morgan's side? Django. So Django's Morgan's last activation. So he's able to probably pull Grievous off of the center point there to make it a little bit harder going into struggle 3. Maybe give them a pin as well. Or just go for some further attrition play. So it looks like Morgan's really prioritizing the back objective there. He's got 3 of his 4 characters that are able to score it. So, sorry, what I meant to say there was 3 active and healthy characters and 1 wounded character being Vader. And we're going to see, it looks like Django crack into Grievous there. Not the best roll in the world, probably only getting a crit through for a few damage. But yeah, just starting to wear away at the 11 health pool of Grievous, and we are indeed going to see the capture wire trigger there as well to get him off the center objective and to make sure that he can't immediately score it coming into the next struggle, which is definitely a wise play, I think. Are you back, Cameron?
Yep, I am. You were just so eloquent and so beautiful. I didn't want to interrupt you. Yeah, it is a nice board, Twitchy. New board just released, fresh off the press. Looks very nice. So, Tommy, question I've got for you, and I've just given us a side view. Twitchy, if anyone has any, we're still trying to figure out what we think might be the best view style. I plan to keep the camera fairly dynamic, moving around. I don't personally like zooming in too much unless there's some specific reason for it, to try and see distances or something. I'm trying to keep a very fairly wide view, but I do think it's important to get different angles. Although the game is technically played at a 2-dimensional angle in terms of cover and line of sight, etc. It's still a 3-dimensional game, so yeah, I will try and find some good angles. Please just shout it in the chat if there's anything specific you'd like to see. The question I have for you now, Tommy, we've got these 3. We've got the 3 objectives active. I think this is always a question you have to ask yourself after you win Struggle 1, is, am I in a position to win Struggle 2? Or do I plan to lose Struggle 2? I'll take it if the opportunity presents itself, but is it more beneficial for me to really put the effort in on positioning for Struggle 3?
Yeah, look, I mean, if you got the foot on the neck, then I think you take that. But the struggle flip didn't really favour Morgan at all here, and he probably doesn't want to leave the safety net of his back deployment zone edge just to try and win struggle 2, because that, if he doesn't win it, then I think the consequences can be quite dire there. If he's put all of his eggs in trying to put put all of his eggs in the basket of winning struggle 2, whereas it's a lot safer probably to try and maybe play the attrition game, get some clutch wounds, make some abilities a lot more expensive, and then be able to pick your specific deployment map for struggle 3, and then take advantage of that. So I personally, given this situation, would take an attrition route and just try and really put some damage down, put some conditions down, and just wait until the flip of struggle 3. Had it have been a more favorable deployment or objective flip for struggle 2, I definitely would have sort of kept my finger on the trigger and really tried to win it, I think.
Yeah,
what about you?
I agree. No, I agree. I think in this position, Morgan has a fairly strong base on his side. He's got a bit of a springboard to attack from into struggle 3. It feels like he is focusing on his struggle 3 positioning more than he is on his struggle 2 objective game. So I do imagine we'll see Wotsnik sort of run away with this just by... He's going to keep these back too. I can't imagine, outside of maybe a play from an injured Savage, I can't imagine him attacking either of these back points.
Yeah, completely agree. And you can see that, Morgan's making those subtle moves towards doing exactly what you're saying. He's getting rid of the opposing threats on the middle line, and he's starting to really build up his own presence on that center 3, either horizontally or vertically. So I think that is definitely a smart play. And we've just seen Morgan finish his activation, finish his order deck and refresh all of his force before Kraken is ready to go. So yeah, what are we going to do? We're just trying and, if you're Wotsnik, are you really planning for struggle 3 and just trying to make sure that you finish this as quickly as possible? Like, how are you going to meet how are you going to meet Morgan's tactics here? What are you going to do to try and mitigate your losses in struggle 2 and make sure struggle 3 is as hardly fought as possible?
I do think a strategy he probably needs to employ is the attrition. Really keep your line fairly steady. Use the range that you have in the B2s, in the super tactical droids, and just get damage in. Keep the positioning of the middle board. I think that's going to be very... He's got an advantage in that sense right now already, that he has the board a little bit more in the center. He's extended himself well beyond. I mean, Asajj is very close to contesting that point that Morgan has right now, and Morgan really can't leave that point. Otherwise, Wotsnik will just completely take the struggle without any hesitancy, and be very ready to collapse his forces in at any point that struggle 3 might activate. So I think he needs to keep his positioning in the middle of the board, and just keep throwing dice. Keep throwing dice at range. Don't let Vader come in. Don't give him those easy melee attacks. But also keep Mother Taliesin engaged. Just keep someone on her, and stop her from getting these out of activation attacks.
100%. I think if anyone can do it, it's definitely going to be the droids, given the amount of out of activation movement that they can employ. It's definitely something that they can do. We're seeing the priority objective move to Morgan's backfield, and I really don't think that will change anything for Morgan. I think he's just going to try and sort of cause trouble for... he's just going to cause trouble for the...
Shatterpoint. So a good decision there from Morgan, putting the Magna Guards into reserve. We saw Wotsnik do that through struggle 1, and it really did position him well to very quickly take those 2 back points in struggle 2. So it looks like Morgan's having the same thought, puts the Magna Guards into reserve, draws Shatterpoint, which I think could end up being very big, that he doesn't have the Shatterpoint, presumably going into struggle 3. Because that will just reduce his flexibility in responding to the struggle 3 flip. But he does get Savage here with Shatterpoint. He does Savage, that heals Savage down to injured, and he's going to go in on this Magna Guard. He's going to try and slow down this attrition race. Slow down the snowball effect that Wotsnik has begun. Fairly decent hit. We've got 3 critical misses there. The Magna Guards have a fairly decent defensive tech. They on their 2 they get another 2, so that's 3 blocks from the Magna Guard. Savage has 2 hits, 1 crit. So the 2 hits will be gone. And Savage,
2 crits, I think.
Savage will add another crit and a damage. So it'll be 2 crits and a damage. Oh, sorry, it's only 1.
Yeah.
So it's a crit and a damage. So 2 crits and a damage going in on the Magna Guards. Not enough to get rid of them.
It is. It's perfectly enough,
is it?
In fact.
Oh, they were damaged. Sorry, yes, you're right, they were damaged.
Yeah, it's 5. Yeah. Yeah, so that's actually quite big for Morgan. That's a big swing there. We've had him score 3, which would put a momentum on the field for both players, and also score another momentum for wounding a character. So, maybe Morgan does start putting his finger on the trigger and try to win Struggle 3. Do you think that changes your outlook on this game, now having Savage right there?
Well, yeah, that's what I mentioned it earlier, that was the only sort of out that Morgan had, was that sneaky little Savage sitting there in the corner. That was a really great play. The Shatterpoint, I do think that the Shatterpoint pull there, he probably would have preferred to just pull the Savage card there, because you want to maintain that flexibility of the Shatterpoint into Struggle 3 to respond to the change. But, I mean, yeah, there might not be a Struggle 3 now, not after that play. It was a very good decision, sending Savage in. The game is pretty much in flux now. If you look at the board state, if that was pretty much just a free steal for Savage there. The only way now for Wotsnik to really put the pressure back on in that direction is to reactivate the Magna Guards and risk them getting deleted, or collapse this middle force back in to that bottom corner on his side. Do you bring the B2s back in to try and just outnumber, or the B2s aren't actually next to each other, so they can't both make it back to take the point? You're going to have to get Savage off the point, and that's probably going to mean throwing dice and trying to push him. So is that what you do now? Do you send the tactical droids in, because they're sort of in the best position to do so? Yeah, I think
looks like we're going for an Asajj play instead. So we're going to go and try and steal Morgan's back point, which, interestingly to note, is not the priority objective. And we're going into the Magna Guard to try and get the wound. But I don't think... Yeah, so we're going to try and get the wound on the Magna Guard, and then probably push either the Mandalorian Super Commandos or Jango off the point. But I don't think we're going to be able to get both of them off the point. But it is a massive, massive hit from Asajj there. So we've actually got, I think, yes, 8 hits and 1 crit. Just... Wow. Firing the damage through. So it probably will be enough to get the Magnas off, but I'm not entirely sure if Wotsnik will be able to take the point, just given the fact that there are 3 healthy characters at the beginning of this activation. Unless I'm wrong, maybe Jango's not contesting anymore.
Ooh,
but yeah, we
close.
could push.
It is close. I think Jango is contesting.
And we'll get the... Yeah, I think so as well. And we will get the push for free as well. So we'll see what happens here. Massive hit. Massive, massive hit. And yeah, there we go. We're pushing the Mandalorian Super Commandos for free, mind you, because of the combat tree. It is a force push.
So it should cost 3 force here. So he's getting 3 force worth of value just off that. Just off 4 successes here in the combat.
Yeah, and I think it might actually be best to go the bottom route with Asajj here, because it will still, I believe, be enough damage. I'm not entirely sure what they started on. 3, and they were already pinned. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, so you have to go the top route, I believe. I don't think that they were pinned. So unfortunately, you can't condition stack them, which would be really cool, but it is what it is. And we're seeing another Mother Talzin trigger here, which is just... savage, isn't it? It's absolutely savage.
It's devastating. Thankfully for Wotsnik, she's not going to be able to get in there and help contest. But she is, in fact, going to take a shot. She's on her Great Mother side, so she's not going to be able to get a free activation of her Manipulating Hand, which would have been very powerful. But she does have pushes here. She's probably not going to be able to push Asajj off the point. Asajj is healthy, so taking her out, probably not, but getting an expose, a pin, could be pretty powerful to get on Asajj now, especially ahead of another activation incoming.
Definitely. Yeah, so I think we've activated Great Mother. It is worth noting that Morgan did end up within range 1 of the ingress point of the tower. So I think Mother Talzin is actually on the top platform here, but I can't confirm nor deny. But it doesn't look like we're going to get any damage into Asajj at all. Not a fantastic roll for Great Mother, but a very good defense roll. Free move? A free move. Oh, yeah, from Wrath. Yeah, sorry, I thought you meant
from Wrath of the Great.
They're going to be free moving. Yeah, of course.
So but yeah, look. There, I do think just with that range 2 measurement being there, I do think Django is probably contesting that point, which is why it has not flipped.
Yeah, correct. And we are only scoring 1 point for Wotsnik here. So looks like. Yeah, unfortunately, just the 1 point for Wotsnik. So it will be... I think it's game on here, really.
Twitchy saying, Mother Talzin and Dooku will be a great combo to punish anyone who wounds you. I agree. I think it'll be a very powerful defensive strike team.
Mm-hmm.
Super Commandos, here we go. They have to actually do something this time.
Yeah, absolutely. So do we think we're actually going to be able to get the fourth point here? Can the Super Commando get to the opposite back objective to score 4? I don't think so. I don't think they'll have enough move.
No, they don't quite have that in them. Yeah, I don't. This isn't a great activation. I feel like this is going to be an activation where you possibly hedge your bets. You definitely reinforce this back point because Wotsnik has shown his hand. He wants that point behind the X-Wing there. So it looks like... Yes, okay. So, really, you can see here, this is Morgan planning. He's saying, okay, look, I may win this struggle, but if I don't, I want my Mandalorians in a position where they can collapse in on any active point into Struggle 3. So they've landed here. We've got an attack going in. I'm not exactly... It looks like into Asajj. Yep. Yeah,
it would be into Asajj. And a beautiful attack as well. 4 crits.
So did we do... How many dice was that? 4, 6. So
it was only 6. So we haven't... Yeah, I think as you wisely just said, Cameron, Morgan's hedging his bets. He's not going to be taking any damage on the Mandalorians here, just because he wants the longevity into Struggle 3. So just a normal attack, and what an attack it was anyway.
And at this
he did a really good job there with 3
at this point, he doesn't need to move the needle. He just needs to hold it where it is, right? He doesn't necessarily need to be taking the big risks of doing the hatred, of taking the damage, getting the extra dice. Just hold the line. That's all we need to do here. Keep the Mandalorians alive. Maybe I'm wrong. Oh, no, this one's taking the damage. Okay. This one is taking the damage to go...
No, that was riposte. No.
Oh, was it? Oh, riposte.
Riposte. Because, yeah, you can't have a ranged attack take damage from Vader.
I thought it was... I thought it was in melee.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Yeah, and Mandalorians, the Super Commandos at least, don't do the best ranged attacks. So yeah, it won't be I think much, if any, damage onto Kraken. I think we'll probably have 1 success through there, which is just going to be a cheeky 2 damage into Kraken. So yeah, not terrible, but can't complain. And yeah, looks like, I probably would say advantage Morgan. I mean, just in terms of board state here. And as you've said, he just needs to sort of hold the line, right? He doesn't need to move the needle. He just needs to keep it trending in the one direction. So we're gonna have Savaj's objective active here, and a Shatterpoint. So what do we do? What do you do with a Shatterpoint, Cameron?
You give me 2 seconds.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm just.
I wonder
just
if Wotsnik's thinking about a Magna Guard play here, because Savage could be pushed off by the Magna Guard. The only problem is you're hedging your bets there as well, because if Savage rolls 2 expertise on his defense roll, then unfortunately he gets to jump back. So yeah, it's pretty Savage, if you if you don't mind me saying. He's also thinking about maybe a Grievous play here, which could be worth doing. Grievous can use some of his abilities to get some other droids into position, which could be very, very good. So Lord Tirith, they are using the clocks just because Shatterpoint generally ends quicker anyway, and just given the late start, they didn't want to be playing into the depths of the night. Yeah, they are playing with chess clocks for this game. And yeah, I guess it's probably worth me explaining what we're actually watching here. We're watching the 4th round of the Oceania bracket of the Tabletop Simulator League, run by a man called Dizzard. Some know him by his official term, Dizzard the Wizard Lizard. But yeah, if you guys want to check out that, I believe they're doing what they would call an episode every 2 or so months, and the whole thing sort of builds up into a like an invitational style league at the very end of the year. And yeah, it's just a lot of fun. It's a really, really good way of bringing the community together. For example, these 2 players that we're seeing today are in different states, but they get to play with each other on a Thursday night. So that's really good.
Technology, love it.
What day is it? It's a Monday night. So yeah, if you guys are interested, we've got a couple of Discord servers dedicated to this league, and so yeah, you can become part of our community, and yeah, it's just a lot of fun. So it looks like we're considering a Magna Guard activation with the Shatterpoint, and I don't disagree with it. I really don't. I think the only risk is if Morgan gets lucky, quote unquote lucky. I think, if the dice swing his way a little bit and we get 2 expertise results on Savage's defense, it's all for naught, as Savage can just jump straight back onto the point and continue his control of it.
That is right, and we don't have any pins at all on the Magna Guards. So you're right. I think this is a very risky play. Savage does only have 4 defense dice, so getting 2 expertise does require a bit of luck. But we'll see what we get here.
We don't get the 2 expertise, but we do need a couple of successes here, because Savage is, of course, steadfast and protected. But that is a beautiful roll,
big roll
from the Magna Guards. Yeah. So it will definitely be enough.
So they'll be getting two blocks, and then they'll be getting through 2 extra crits onto that, so 4 total successes, which is the full tree for the Magna Guards. Very powerful, very strong here. They could use a reposition. I don't think you really need it. You may as well do a triple push, get a bunch of damage in, get a disarm, and take this point back. Very big moment again here. It's really interesting, I think. The decision points around using your Shatterpoint really do change as the game goes on. I think early, struggle 1, when your primaries are out there in the field, if they can get out there early and you draw the Shatterpoint, a double primary, or in the droid side, a double tactical droid activation is just so powerful. But here, once you get into the nitty gritty, you've got to find a way to leverage that Shatterpoint to get value, right? The Shatterpoint is your most flexible card in that order deck, and when it comes out, you really want to make sure you are getting the utmost value that you can out of whatever activation you end up choosing. So 2 victory points, 2 points on the struggle tracker towards Wotsnik was the value that he got out of that, and taking that point back. So he now has sort of reinforced that back line. And here we go. Morgan says, okay, cool, thanks for that. I'm going to just draw Savage and send him back in. So never mind. That was
That's
a really,
really unlucky roll, I think.
But
yeah, unlucky for Wotsnik there.
Savage comes up. That is still the priority objective as well. So that's really important too. So this is going to be, kudos to Morgan. I think he's done a great job of keeping himself in this. I think I would have played a little bit more defensively. Disarmed.
Yeah, he is disarmed, but he's taking the extra damage to roll extra
rolls
dice.
One expertise anyway.
Fat roll.
that is a roll.
Beautiful roll there. So we're probably going to see the Magna Guard.
Oh, they've already had 5 damage. Yeah, they're gone. That's it.
They do.
They've got 1 activation left after this.
No, that was new damage. That was from Savage. That was new damage. But we... So I believe Savage does 8 damage or something similar, but then he also activates for free his Dark Fury. That will be enough to wound them. Yep.
No, I think they're 1 short. Oh, no, he did. Yep, you are correct.
He rolled it perfectly.
Got exact.
Which is, big swing there. So we're going to see 2 momentum. Not 2 momentum, sorry. 1 momentum from the wound and then 3 extra points. So really, Morgan, I think, has the opportunity to really keep this game going to a 2-0 victory.
So
but we'll see how Wotsnik responds.
What was the first activation from Wotsnik? What was that first activation? Do you remember?
Asajj.
So the Magna Guards are in the deck, and they're going to get drawn. They're going to get one final sort of gasp, and then
hurrah!
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we do get Grievous here. I think he's deciding on it. I think who to give the onward to. We've got some range checking here. I think we're checking to see if now the question has to actually be asked. Is the question of whether or not Django he is definitely contesting that objective, if that's the question that's being asked.
No, I think the question is where Grievous can go to fit into the melee here. Yeah, because if he goes on sort of Grievous's side of the landing platform, then he won't be contesting, and I think he's aiming to try and snip Django here. I think that'll probably be his. It'll be his easiest wound.
Can he fit in between Vader, Asajj there? Oh no, I see what he's doing. He's trying to get over the top of all of them and land behind the other engines of the X-wing there. I see. So GG can run under and up the ladder.
But he is also pinned.
Sorry, yeah, I should show what Grievous is looking at here. So Grievous is pinned. That's a good shout. So we have an attack coming in.
No, this is not so fast by the old Django.
Not so fast from Django. Is Grievous damaged at all? He was.
He's on 5 health.
He's now on 5. Yeah. So a good roll there from Django on that. Not so fast.
Yeah. So I think you're right here that we'll see Scuttle trigger, and then he'll just do a normal move potentially and try and get up that ladder. Unless we want to try and abandon this objective altogether.
Can he fit that ladder?
But I think that might be a bit of concession.
I'm not sure he's going to be able to fit once he gets up that ladder. Oh no, he will. The battle droids are doing from the.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. No. Well, the thing is, he can climb off the scuttle.
But then I don't think he'll be on the objective.
No.
Unless he gets a really good roll, because he can get a reposition if he goes hard.
Oh, yeah, that's 6 successes, though, to get there. It's a big ask.
It is. But they also have on his other stance, on his Severidus General stance, not the quad arm attack, I believe. I think a reposition's on 2. So there is the potential that he gets there and wins the objective.
Does look like he's considering... I did see him just checking his stance card there. I'm just trying to get a good view of the action here. So I think his question is now, does a climb... He's going to climb up there. So that is Morgan's Magna Guard there that Grievous is standing next to. They are currently
Which is wounded, yep.
So on the X-Wing is a higher level than the platform, just for clarity's sake. The guys look like they are trying to just big decisions here from Wotsnik. He does need to keep a good eye on that clock, though.
They might be trying to tell us that they're underneath the wing.
Oh, right, yes.
I think
okay,
that's
fair enough. Yeah,
us.
he should be able to fit under there. So, yeah, that's fair enough, actually. That makes perfect sense.
Unless... No, we've flipped into Cunning Warlord. Okay, no, we are shooting into Django with Cunning Warlord, and he will get cover from the wounded Magna Guard. So he'll need a good roll here. He'll need a very good roll to get that reposition. Or the jump. That's what he wants. Right, he wants the reposition or the jump.
So he has jumped on top of and fired with his ranged attack. Interesting. Hoping to get a push.
Indeed, but it won't be enough, it seems.
So how many successes did we end up with there?
One.
A great roll. One success, so a push 2 damage. He can follow up. That'll get him off the X-Wing.
He can. I think he can do it, actually. Yeah, I think the follow-up will actually get him in between or next to Asajj, and that will be enough to get him on the point. So, lucky play. I think, not lucky play, I think it was a good play. But despite the bad roll, he did luck out in the terms that he still will be able to try and make that point. So that's good. He just needs to make sure he gets this angle right, because it can go pear-shaped if he gets the angle wrong.
Well, he should land pretty much round about where
and here we go, moment of truth.
So he can definitely get down, which is
and he's done it nicely there. So he's slotted in.
Yep, very good.
He'll definitely be within range too, I'd say.
He would have liked to have done a little bit more on that attack, but at the end of the day, he's still got the still got his objective, which was to take the objective. So Twitchy has said you could move Asajj with Slip Away. So let's just have a quick squiz at Slip Away. Okay. Targeting is engaged with unmarked characters. You know this. I think he wants to leave her there because she is helping contest. Because the Mandalorian Super Commandos, I mean, you get it anyway, right? You get the move. You may as well take it.
She's also well, no, it's a reactive ability. So
correct.
It would. She's strained, so it would cost her 3 damage, and it would cost her a force. So she probably doesn't want to do it at this stage. But we will be able to trigger Appetite for Destruction here. So he might be able to trigger the Magna Guard and do some more damage if he remembers. I'm not entirely sure if that's what they're looking at. Looks like they've already done the flip.
I think that's what.
Of the objective.
There we go. Flip. We score. Oh, this is a really tense second struggle. This is definitely one of the more tenser second struggles.
It is.
So this is important here. I do want to point out the clock is really running down for Wotsnik here. I do think he has a lot more decision points. So I can totally understand the disparity here in the 2 clocks. But he does need to be aware of that, right? If that clock runs down, what happens?
Oh, definitely. Well, I mean, the game, sorry, let me speak properly. The turn will finish, and then the game will end. So yeah.
So it is big. He does really want to make sure that starts moving these turns a little faster, just for his own sake, really. And I do think he's at a disadvantage in terms of a timer, just in the sense that a lot more decision points, a lot more branching decisions as well when it comes to the droids and this particular strike team.
Absolutely, yeah. So we're actually going to see the Magna Guard activate there from Morgan. And this is a big scrum on that back point here. And we're going to see if they can do some damage into Grievous, I think. We probably will be taking 2 damage to end up rolling more dice to try and maximize their tree. If they do get 4 successes through onto Grievous, they will wound him. So that is definitely worth noting.
The thing
is, and then the other Magnas can try and...
Sorry, the only point I wanted to make was a 3 or more expertise from Grievous, which he doesn't quite get there. But that's a really bad roll for Grievous there. That's 1 expertise, which does give him a dash, actually. So it didn't really matter. He will only take 1 attack here.
Well, 1 attack's all he can take, because he's only got 6 health left.
Well, I just mean...
so he's maxed out the tree with the Magna Guard.
If the Magna Guards hadn't maxed out the tree, then there was a chance that Grievous could have escaped. Very thematic. Good design. Well done, AMG. But unfortunately, in this specific scenario, it doesn't happen.
Love it. So who are you going to attack? You're going to attack...
not Grievous.
Oh, you have to attack Asajj, right? Like, there's no point in not.
Yeah, you may as well just try and get... well, I mean, she does have riposte, right? So maybe not. Just... Oh, you do. Okay. Oh, yeah, sorry. I thought she was wounded. Sorry, she is injured. You definitely go into Asajj. So this is Grievous's dash.
Yeah, it would cost a force, and it would also trigger her strain.
That's all correct, yeah. So that was the dash from...
All right, so we'll see where the second Magna Guard goes. Yeah, only 6 dice. We can't... Morgan could take an additional few dice here from Vader's ability, but decides not to. I think that's wise. Okay, 4 expertise from Asajj. That is really good. 2 blocks, a hit becomes a fail, and a crit becomes a hit. Into Morgan's 2 crits, 1 hit. 3 crits, 1 hit, I should say. So probably not going to be enough to wound Asajj. Yeah, so she's gone up to 6 health, and if she triggers riposte, she will take 3 damage and wound herself. So it's definitely not something that she wants to look at doing. But we are putting the pressure on here. And I wonder if there was merit in terms of actually leaving Asajj where she was and not pushing her and keeping her within range of that Mandalorian Super Commando. So if Asajj does move away, you know, the Mandalorian Super Commandos could trigger No Mercy.
So No Mercy, for those who don't know, when an enemy character that is engaged with 1 or more characters in this unit moves or dashes, after the moving is resolved, that unit suffers 2 damage if they are no longer engaged. So Asajj does...
The B2 making a return here.
Yeah, here we go. So this is a good activation, I think, for Wotsnik, getting these B2s back on the board, because they are... they're separate, but I think that's really good board cover from the B2s right now. If we do go to a struggle 3, he's going to need them to help take some of these points, just getting the moves that they've got. They do have that double move, the Relentless Advance, which is pretty good. It does cost 2 force now, though, so you're probably going to want to use it if you're going to get a couple of points out of it. But it is very powerful. They do both get to do that dash, and that can give you a 3-point swing on a turn if you're able to get them to uncontested points.
So it looks like we've got a not-so-fast trigger from Django onto the B2s, going to be resulting in 2 damage there. And worth noting that protection doesn't apply to things that do not attack.
Correct. That is protectionless damage. Unprotected damage. So what do you do here, Tom? If
so we're seeing...
You're Wotsnik, if you're getting these B2s here, how do you get the most value out of this? Look, that struggle tracker is looking mighty tight on Morgan's side. 2 away from getting a score.
Yes. I do wonder if it's worth going in the direction that Wotsnik's deciding to go in. I actually think that maybe dealing some damage to Savage is your best bet here. Your expertise tree on the B2s is really good. You only need 2 expertise to deal 2 damage, and Savage only has 4 left. So that actually might be maybe my choice, but you could also just body this objective here as well. If you get another person in between that pile in the middle there, then you will win the struggle. win the objective. But Savage looks tempting for me here.
Do we know which? Do we know which objective is the priority?
Yeah, Wotsnik's got it. It's behind the quad jumper. So that's the priority objective.
Oh, I see it there. Sorry. Yep.
Yeah. But we could. Yeah. Look. I mean, look. It's a struggle win as well. Going to make sure that we stay out of engagement range of Django here. It's just being a bit finicky with the mod. There we go. So he's out of engagement range there. That's really good. But I don't know what the target priority here is. We probably want to go into the Mandalorian Super Commando. I think that's the best. That's probably the easiest body to get rid of. What do you do here, Cameron? How are you going to try and make sure that Morgan doesn't win in his next activation? I mean, you need to get as many objectives as possible. That's the obvious play. Right?
I think that's the decision point that Wotsnik's come to here is, the B2s can probably take down Savage, but they can't get over and take that point without rolling enough dice to get that reposition that's on their tree. Whereas this, they could take this point back with a successful double team attack here. So a very
poor roll from
Morgan on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. So what have we actually got there? We've got 2 successes and a damage going straight through. So it will be 4 damage total and a push. So I think we can get them off. Here. What are we actually doing? Who are we pushing?
We're pushing.
We got into the Magna Guard, maybe.
Yeah, he did go into the Magna Guards.
Okay, so we didn't end up going into the Super Mandalorians.
No.
Okay.
Do you think?
I wonder if we will do that with the other.
Well, the Magna Guards have
think
4
so.
left. You could probably take them out, and then you just take the point then, right? If you could take out the Magna Guards, you'll just take the point back because it's only the Super Commanders.
Yeah, definitely. And with a roll, that's not too bad. Let's see what Morgan's going to get. He's going to block 2. So probably not going to be enough. We've probably also seen a saturation fire here come through, but also a poor roll there. So actually just 2 damage on the Magna Guard. Yeah, so actually not going to get it. And this is why I think pushing that Super Mandalorian would have been very clutch there.
I wouldn't have taken the objective, though. Not without the
it wouldn't have, but it would have...
Take it. I think that's what Wotsnik's playing for here is you have to take the objective. You just have to get the numbers on there and you have to be the one to take it.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought Grievous was still not wounded and Asajj was still on the point. But yes, no, the play makes sense. An unfortunate ending there for Wotsnik. I think that actually might be the game.
I think that the...
Unfortunately.
2 poor rolls from Morgan, but just unable to capitalize and really just sink in the damage onto those Magna Guards. Hardy, they don't have a very exciting defensive tech, but it's pretty consistent. One on the expertise, 2 on 2 expertise. It's very good.
And that's Django for the win, I think, there, because luckily for Morgan, he's got the priority objective.
Yep.
As his back point, Savage is taking this one, and then we can just walk away here.
Correct, yeah. He just needs to get over there, that's it.
We can remove... Exactly, yeah. I just have to make sure that they don't walk away with Django, because Django is engaged. I'm just typing in the chat. But either way, it could have been... it would have been done.
I don't know, because he's not going to be able to get there.
Because he jumps first.
Oh, right. Yeah, he jumps.
Jumps first, moves, and then focuses for another jump. So it doesn't actually make a difference.
Yep. Yeah, it didn't change the outcome. Yeah, very...
And that is the game.
That is the game.
What an interesting conclusion to Struggle 2. I just didn't think it was going to go like that, really. Yeah, I thought that the objective flip there for Morgan just really encouraged him to stay on his back line. But There you go.
That cheeky push.
There you go.
Savage,
so we'll let the players do a little debrief and then... Sorry, you go.
Just saying that I think the most pivotal decision that really did turn the tide of this second struggle was that Savage play. Was the Shatterpoint, activate Savage in this top left corner here. I'm just going to change colour so that I can actually be seen. So the stream still can't see what I'm doing. But yeah, up in this this corner here, the Savage off of the Shatterpoint basically meant that that was Morgan's statement to say, all right, I'm not going to just sit back and let you take struggle 2. I'm going to jump in and I'm going to take it. So we will jump over into the chat with the guys. Tom's going to conduct a post-match interview, and we will see.
Oh, am I? Okay.
We will see how the guys feel.
We'll jump over.
All right, we'll jump over now.
Nice.
Very well played. Thank you so much for appearing on the stream for us. Sorry about the technical difficulties. I think we had a bit of latency issues with the internet, and the mod. I think maybe.
Since the update on the map seems a bit buggy.
A couple of things to iron out, but look, thanks for playing on this new map as well. It's nice to see some variety. I just want to start maybe with you, Wotsnik. How did you feel when you got the flip of the second struggle and the choice of objectives there? Because in my mind, I thought that was a sort of a surefire struggle 2 victory for you, just based on where the models were positioned. How did you feel there?
It was like it wasn't too. It felt reasonable. It was just the I'd mucked up with some setup to play for it earlier. And so it made it a bit trickier than I wanted. But
yeah, well, I mean, in saying that, you had the Magna Guard available, and that's exactly what you did. You played Magna Guard first and took the 2 points, so it wasn't that bad. And that Morgan, we saw your initial plays really sort of clustering on your back objective, which we thought was a really good play just to have insurance for struggle 3. But Cameron noted that. The change or the turnaround really happened with Savage. He was able to just get on that your top left and just stay there and really flip the attrition game over.
Yeah, you're right. I thought it was going to struggle 3 because, like you said, Wotsnik flipped a really good struggle, I thought, for his position, and I thought it was going to 3. So Savage just got a bit lucky, a couple of nice shatter points and draws, and he sort of stuck there. And yeah, he just luck of positioning worked out well.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, look, congratulations, Morgan. Do you guys have anything that you wanted to, I guess, bring up or talk about? Any highlights of the game for yourselves?
Lawrence, you go first.
Nothing major. It was the Magna Guard. Can't say they don't ever perform. They punched pretty well when they did get to punch on my side.
Oh yeah,
that's a good point. They did well. The one thing I was just saying to Lawrence before was I've never seen it before. Was when he wounded Savage, I think it was, and Talzin on his activation did a retaliation attack to wound Kraken to then gain a momentum to win the struggle on his turn. And it gave me the first scoring opportunity on. It was just bizarre. I'd never seen it.
It was bizarre.
We had to double check. Like, wait, does that work? Like, yeah, geez, it does.
Yeah, no, that was a good play. The Wrath of the Great Mother, right? That's absolutely clutch. And there were some really, really good positions there as well, Morgan. I think we've previously sort of debriefed about some of the ways to shut down Mother Talzin, and that is by keeping a mobile character engaged with her. But this center tower here really allowed you to sort of dangle her and keep her unengaged after her move because she could drop down different elevations. And that's exactly what happened, which led to, I believe, the struggle win for yourself on struggle 1. So, yeah, some really, really cool plays. And we've never seen Mother Talzin played before. I believe, Cameron, you've never seen her played before?
No, that was a first for me, yeah.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. So, yeah, thanks again, guys. Cameron, did you have anything to jump in and ask or comment on?
No, that was a fantastic... honestly, it was a really, really exciting game. The second struggle was a lot closer than I thought it was going to be, and I think it was... The pivotal moment was that Savage activation off the Shatterpoint. But, yeah, Wotsnik, I think you did great to just keep the pressure on that back point where Morgan was trying to keep a good stronghold. And yeah, I think it was just really well played from both of you. Just a couple of different roles here or there, or a couple of different decisions could have really swung it the other way. So it was a really, really good match. And thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
No worries.
Cool. Kind words. Thanks. It's good to be on for Lawrence and I to be on your inaugural Shatterpoint stream for the old Space Slugs.
Yeah. Thanks, Morgan.
It's a name that rolls off the tongue, isn't it?
It does, mate.
So yeah, look, thanks so much for again, guys. And we hope to have you on again soon. All the best for the rest of the league, and we'll definitely be looking at bringing more Shatterpoint content to everyone. So thanks for tuning in, guys, and we'll see you next time.
Amazing. See you
next time.